Hi, this is Margaret Maloney, and welcome to the Death Dhamma podcast. Together we will consider life, death, and impermanence. Because in between birth and death, we lose things. Not just our glasses and our keys. We lose identities, relationships, ideas, and more. But what we can gain right now is facing this together, and we will gain freedom, peace, and progress on our path. I sure hope you had an opportunity to listen to my discussion with Terry Tucker, because he is just so warm and inspirational and full of so much wisdom. Terry learned that he had cancer that was rare and terminal, and he shares the story of, he was at the doctor's office and he had 3 separate visits from staff, so to speak. First a nurse, then the nurse practitioner, and then eventually the doctor. And each of them were sharing with him exactly how sick he was and everything they were going to do to really work to save his life. And while this is going on, there's part of him that is trying to acknowledge what is being said, and there's another part of him that's sitting on the table. In the doctor's office, there's those exam tables you sit on, and he's sitting on the table and he's just wondering why they use that weird, uncomfortable paper, and why did he have to be sitting on that odd paper? You probably know the kind of paper he means. It's almost like, I hate to say it like this, but I think of it like the paper they use to wrap meat or sandwiches in or other items from the deli. And it's loud and it's crinkly and it feels weird on your body. Well, it's not unusual for us to distract ourselves during times of difficulty. I suppose it's a form of denial and a form of self-protection. So there's Terry, sitting in the doctor's office while 3 different people are again, telling him, "You're sick. This is what we're going to do." And Terry explains that he definitely went through a form of grief, of course, because as he's learning this, he's saying goodbye to not just life, because it could eventually kill him and probably will, but also that how his life was going to be, right? So that's another thing. And he went through denial and bargaining. He makes his way to acceptance and away from clinging and attachment. And those are my words. Terry has a very strong Christian belief and a very strong relationship with God. So he might not think in terms of clinging and attachment, but as a Buddhist practitioner and your host of a Buddhist podcast, that's my words, right? That he realized he needed to let go of how he thought things were going to be, and also let go of having an aversion to having cancer. And that helped him arrive at a place where he could think, these are the cards I've been dealt. I'm not crazy about them, but I must play them to the best of my ability. That helped him to move forward and live fully. And living fully and finding purpose in being a role model for others also released any power that the idea of his own death had over him. The 3 pillars that Terry relies on as he navigates his life are faith, family, and friends. He definitely doesn't buy into a system where somebody or something needs to be blamed for his diagnosis. He told me that there were times when people said, well, don't you blame God for doing this to you? And his thought is, no, I don't blame God for doing this to me, but I appreciate the strength that God gives me to live this life. So Buddhists, this is probably where we look to karma, right? Karma, I'm going to say without blame. Remember, karma is not blame. It is what happens to us based on our past actions and our current actions. So, just a recognition, we can have faith too. Faith is not always a word associated with Buddhism. But think about it. Can you prove karma? Or if you believe in rebirth, can you prove rebirth? Can you prove that the Buddha obtained nirvana? No. We take these things on faith. As for family, of course we have family, whether it be actual relatives or our own Buddhist community. And like Buddhists, Terry has 4 truths. His are different, but I think you can see some correlation. He read his 4 truths to me. He keeps them on a note on his desk. And the first one is, you need to control your mind or your mind is going to control you. Second, embrace the pain of the difficulty that we all experience in life so that you can use that pain and difficulty to make yourself stronger so you can be a stronger and more determined individual. The third one he explained is more of a legacy truth, and it's that what you leave behind is what you weave into the hearts of other people. And the fourth one is pretty self-explanatory, which is as long as you don't quit, you can never be defeated. And I think it's important to point out that dying is not quitting. We all die. It's not quitting. It's about how we gracefully navigate the impermanences on our way, right? So, Terry is a person who's had a lot of impermanence in his life, a lot of change, and he's still with us, and he knows that he is, navigating his way towards what will one day be the end of his life, and he's doing so in a very graceful manner, and he's using his time to help us, and that's the purpose that he has found. He's a fan of the movie Tombstone. Tombstone is a Western. I guess we could call it a classic now, because I believe it came out in the 90s, perhaps. And it is the story of Wyatt Earp. And in the story is Wyatt's buddy, friend, sidekick, Doc Holliday. Well, Doc Holliday has tuberculosis, and this is what ultimately kills him. And at the end of the movie, Doc is in what is called a sanitarium, awaiting his final days, and Wyatt Earp comes to see him. And as they're talking, Wyatt asks Doc if he got what he wanted out of life. And Doc said, I was in love with my cousin when I was younger, but she became upset over our affair and she joined the convent. And really all I ever wanted was to be with her. And then Doc asks Wyatt the same question. Did you get what you wanted from life? And Wyatt said to him, all I ever wanted was just to lead a normal life. And Doc looks at him and says, there is no normal life. There's just life. Stop waiting for a normal life. Stop waiting for a specific event to be happy. Your life is now. Your life is now. There's a proverb from the Native American Blackfoot tribe, and it goes like this. Live in such a way that, remembering that when you were born, you came into the world crying and others were rejoicing your arrival. And live so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice. For more on Terry and his wisdom, consider his book, Sustainable Excellence, 10 Principles to Leading Your Uncommon and Extraordinary Life, because it's an important part of his legacy. You've been listening to the Death Dhamma podcast with your host, Margaret Maloney. Thank you so much for being here. Come find me on margaretmaloney.com, margaretmeloni.com. And until we meet again, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be at ease, and may you be free from suffering. Bye for now.